All right. I wanted to make a follow-up video to my "Do you miss your NPD or BPD Ex" video. That video still gets some views and people comment on it, and I watched it again because that was over a year ago now, and it was very interesting to see where my headspace was at that time. And I remember talking like I had had a little break from drinking, and I missed some of the good experiences I had with them, and I wasn't as fulfilled in my own life at the time. That was part of it. So I wanted to kind of do a follow-up video to how I am now. Because it's been over a year since I've had any involvements with a cluster B girl. And before someone gets offended, I would say that, yes, I think it is possible for some BPD people in particular to improve on their conditions. So let's get that out of the way. But it's been a year since I've been with a troubled, I should say, cluster B person. And I wanted to talk about what it's like right now after a whole year. So it probably helps that I've been away from booze for a while again too, because sometimes when I would drink, it would pull me back into old patterns of thinking, old thought patterns, and it wasn't always a good thing. And that is something I would certainly do more of with the MPD and BPD girls. So it might contribute that I'm not doing that now. So if I was really honest with myself, what I would say right now is a lot of the reasons why I would miss them and want to go back was because I wanted an escape from my own life. I wanted to kind of forget my own responsibilities. And especially with the BPD one, it was so much easier to focus on her problems than it was to focus on my own problems and to improve on my own life. Now, that's not to say some of those experiences weren't fun. They absolutely were. I'll never forget them. But here's the thing. Now that some time has gone by, I don't want to go back to any of them. I can still recognize that some of it was fun, but I can still not want to go back at the same time. And I don't really have a desire to go back at this time. And I realized the part of me that I was medicating by doing it. I was medicating a part of myself that needed healing. It's like I've been mentioning a lot that line from No More Mr. Nice Guy. There's never just one unhealthy person in a relationship. There are always going to be two, no exceptions. And there's no exceptions for me here. And I'd also like to point out that I kind of wish I didn't make any of those videos about the girls I've dated, but it's what I wanted to do at the time. They got a bunch of views, and people seem to really identify with it and relate to it. So on that hand, it's good. But on the other hand, I kind of wish maybe I didn't put so much of it out there. But I guess it's overall a good thing that it seemed to help a lot of people. So I guess we'll leave it at that. But I don't think I want to make any more videos like that. Probably because I don't plan on dating any more troubled cluster B women in the future. But yeah, so that was the codependent part of me that wanted to always go back. And it was really just me kind of self-sabotaging. It was me not wanting to do the work in my own life. So, and also that was part of the trauma bond too. The trauma bond was wanting to go back as opposed to moving forward. So here I am a year later. I don't want to go back there. And I noticed how much of like a drug they were to me at the time. Very similar to a drug with a lot of emotional spikes and ups and downs. But now that I've been removed from that, not nearly as many ups and downs and spikes. Now, I've dated casually here and there, but certainly not an intense relationship like I had with them. And so I notice I'm not absorbed by them. I'm not absorbed by the people I date now. I'm not enmeshed by them. I don't need to be super close in order to feel something. And I'm just kind of good. And I've noticed that since I've gone through this, a lot of my desire to even be in relationships has gone way down too. Now, of course, the sexual stuff continues to come up, but overall, I realized how much of myself, how much of my codependency was prompting me to want relationships because I wanted someone to make me feel better about me. I wanted the jolts. I wanted the acceptance and the approval from someone. And now that I don't really want that approval anymore, I'm pretty good on my own. I notice how little I really even care about relationships mostly. Like I said, the sex thing comes up from time to time, but as far as just relationships go, it's like now that I'm doing pretty good with my codependency, the desire for relationships kind of goes way down in my experience. Now, ultimately, I would like to share myself with someone eventually, but I fully recognize that that's not going to be easy. It's not going to be, especially in this day and age, it's tough. You got to go, it's not easy to find someone good. But I'm not really too worried about it at this point. I'm just kind of doing my own thing, and whatever happens is whatever happens. I've begun attracting better people too, and that's how I know things are going a little better for me because I'm no longer attracting really like the cluster B. I'm no longer pulling them into my orbit or me being pulled into their orbit. I'm actually attracting more normal people, which is good. And again, these new people I've dated, it's not all encompassing and as intense as those cluster B relationships are, but they're certainly healthier. And I'm just kind of good. I'm working on me. I'm going to see where things go. And I can tell I'm on the right track. So if you really identified with that first video and you noticed you're really relating to the things I was saying in there, I would say, if you haven't already, go no contact for a while. If you've broken up, go no contact, heal the trauma bond. You'll know the trauma bond is healed when you no longer think their presence will cure you. And ultimately, if it's someone like who has BPD and you're trying to make it work, you really got to think, is this person working on it themselves? Is this person putting in the effort? Are they trying to change? Or are they making every excuse in the book to not go to therapy? Are they making every excuse in the book why they're not changing or why they are not going to counseling? Because if that's what's going on, you can't help anyone that does not want to help themselves. And all a situation like that will do 99 times out of 100 is pull you down too. So chances are, though, if we're with someone that's narcissistic, if we're with someone that has BPD, we have our own issues to deal with 99 times out of 100. So we got to move forward, heal those parts of ourselves that was attracted to those kinds of people. And this has to really be done while not talking to them. I wish it wasn't the case, but we gotta be no contact for a while. The only exception to this is if there's kids involved, and then I would recommend the least amount of contact necessary. But that space, the space is everything. And we got to be strong enough to withstand the Hoovers, and we got to be strong enough to know that, yeah, it may be fun, it might have been fun, but we got to heal to the point where we see through it. We fast forward the tapes. That's what I was talking about a lot in that first video. Fast forwarding the tapes to see how it would play out. And yeah, sure, it could be fun very temporarily, but now when I look back on those relationships, I just go straight to the ending and say, yep, it'll be love bomb, devalue, discard. And that's the cycle. And if I truly am practicing radical self-respect, I am no longer willing to put myself through that cycle. You can't. We can't be willing to put ourselves through that cycle if we practice radical self-respect. We gotta act with our actions like we deserve better. And that's something I talked about in that first video too. We gotta act like we deserve better. What the heck is this? Things going on here in my computer. Yeesh. Almost technical difficulties there. But yeah, our actions will communicate how we really feel about ourselves. And guess what? There's going to be some downtime there because I also talked about in that first video being a little too healthy for the cluster B, but not quite healthy enough to attract a healthy partner. Well, it takes a while to kind of bridge that gap. Like when we first leave a cluster B, we're not immediately going to be healthy enough to do something better. Like there's going to have to be a time a time alone more than likely, where we heal, we grow, we evolve. And that time alone is super important. That's where the growth is, in that time alone. And it takes a while, and we might want to go back at first, but if we keep on moving forward, there are better things out there. There are better things out there than that emotional roller coaster. And for me, like what I would do, like I said, is I would use that to not work on my own life, to involve myself in someone's gray cloud and not work on my own life and be addicted to trying to solve their problems. That was a never ending issue. And again, I'm certainly no saint in those relationships either. Like I said, there was certainly a part of me that was not doing well, which is why I was there to begin with. But thankfully, that's not my story today. So I wanted to share what happens when we put some time and some distance between our cluster B relationship and the present. And to me, it's been better. It didn't always feel that way. It didn't feel like that. It kind of felt empty at first. It kind of felt like blah. But as time went down and went by, more even keeled and more just level headed. And we realized, wow, these are all the things that I'm doing in my own life now that those relationships were kind of preventing me from doing, preventing me from taking those extra good steps in my own life. And that's what I've been confronted with. I was like, okay, there's no other distractions right now. I'm not going off on benders. I'm not becoming distracted with a woman. It's like, it's just me. It's me and my life and my career, my investing. And that's what I got to focus on. And that's ultimately what we have to be, right? We got to be happy and single. When we're happy and single, things are going to go as good as they can go. And there's always more to explore when we're happy on our own. Like Oscar Wilde said, learning to love ourselves is the beginning of a lifelong romance. And it sounds corny, but it's absolutely true, where there's so many things we can do in our own life. And other than the sexual piece of it, it is a lot more peaceful and calm, right? It's a lot easier to do this. So if you're struggling out there, like I said, and you should probably go no contact, you should empower yourself to avoid the hoovers, and you got to act with your actions like you deserve better, like there's something better for you on the other side. And your actions will ultimately speak about what you truly think and feel. And that's the case for everyone. Everyone's actions speak the loudest of all. So I kind of wanted to just give a little encouragement in this video about where I was and how things can get a little better as long as we keep on moving forward as opposed to going back. And like part of my mission now is to continue to help people that were in those positions, help them practice radical self-respect, help them to heal that codependent part of themselves or the wounded part of themselves that was attracted to them to begin with. And because that is part of it here, that's part of it. We got to recognize our part in the whole thing because we weren't just innocent victims. I want you to get that idea out of your head. Generally, we are not just innocent victims. We were playing a part and there was something that was going on in ourselves that we could have been doing better. Now, granted, that's not always 100% the case, especially if there's physical abuse involved, but ultimately there's usually something we can be doing better. And right now in the real world, we can see examples of some of this, right? You can see Kanye and how he's acting towards Kim. That is a worldwide view of a cluster B relationship and what they do from the male to female perspective. So if you are familiar with those dynamics, you really kind of see it for what it is. And it's kind of troubling that he's doing all that. I would recommend that Kim go no contact with him. But there's a problem because guess what? She has kids with him. So at that point, I would say you probably got to go least amount of contact necessary because he is wilding out. And I even see women on my Facebook page say things like, if you're not going to be like Kanye, I don't want it. That's the kind of crazy for me. And I think to myself, well, if they aren't telling on themselves, I don't know what they're doing. But chances are, if they're encouraging and egging on Kanye right now, that's a red flag, let me tell you. And then there are other people saying how troubling it is that he's doing all of those things. And they're right. It is absolutely troubling he's doing those things because it's narcissistic abuse. It's gaslighting. It's just emotional manipulation and abuse. And no one deserves that, really. So again, that's really all I had for today. I just wanted to do a follow-up on that. Do you miss your NPD or BPD Ex? And if that's the case for you, do your best to keep moving forward. Stay no contact. Heal the parts of yourself that wanted to be with them. Heal that codependency. And recognize that you got to act as if there's something better for you in the future. And your actions will determine that. If you go back, you don't really believe it. But if you keep on moving forward, you do believe that there's better things out there for you. So thank you very much for watching, everyone. Have a good one.